everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. I am here today to share with you all my thoughts on the new comedy streaming now on Netflix, Living With Yourself, starring Paul Rudd and Paul Rudd. I'm going to let you all know if it's something worth streaming over the weekend and give you my overall thoughts on the show. But before we do all that fun stuff, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our content. And if you've seen this show, comment below. Let's talk about it. Let me know what you thought of it. With that being said, let's jump into this review. About Living With Yourself and the basic plot of the show. A man undergoes experimental treatment to improve his life, only to be replaced by a new and improved version of himself, and must fight for his wife, his career, and his own identity. Starting off with the positives of this review, the idea of this show was really what drug me into this. You know, we did the trailer reaction a couple weeks ago. I was very intrigued. Number one, it stars Paul Rudd. And not only one Paul Rudd, but we get two of them. So I was very intrigued by that. But just the idea of someone being kind of down in their life and they want to improve their life by having someone replace them, a clone, an exact clone, was really what got me into this show. And this show really does a good job of expressing what kind of that dynamic looks like from someone that's kind of at a low point in life and someone that's exactly them doing what they know they can do from day in, day out, doing it much better than them. I love that the show kind of played on that and dives deep into that psyche of what someone can go through. That was really, really well done in this show. From the way they told the story was really something that stood out for me too. The first couple episodes, I was on board. Again, I love what Paul Rudd was doing in the cameo that we get from episode 1 that I won't spoil who's actually in the cameo, which you might already know by now. But I love the first couple episodes, but it was something missing. But as the series continues to go on, and the way the director decides to tell the story by presenting it in different point of views, by going flashback to fill in the blank, I love how they told the story. Because again, the first couple episodes, I was on board. I was just like, it's missing something. But as you continue to watch this show, they fill in the blanks. And I love that. I'm going to talk about Paul Rudd here in a little bit, but his wife, I believe her name was Ashley B. She plays Kate Elliott in this show. His wife, such a wonderful performance. Again, Paul Rudd's great, but if it wasn't because of her, the show could have been missing that other element of as far as, someone that you can relate to or feel bad for and things of that nature. And she did such a great job of being funny, being dramatic, having that kind of crisis that she goes with as far as, loving her real husband, the real version of Miles, and then this new version that comes in and is just like a more better version of Miles. I love the dynamic that they bring in with her character, and in particularly her episode, which is kind of middle of the season, was my favorite episode, episode 4. We get more of Kate's backstory and kind of get to know her day-to-day life and see her struggles, and it shows us why she's at the position that we see her at the beginning of the series. And again, the way that they do the POVs and you see what happened, 2 years later, I just love the way they told the story, and Kate's performance was great by Ashley B. Some other things that I really love was, yes, we know that this show is going to be comedic. It stars Paul Rudd, who we all know to be the funny guy, but it was really the dramatic moments that stood out for me, and I was very surprised how they were able to go to those moments, and the performances obviously were there, but the writing and the directing and the way that they kind of shifted certain things where you think it's going one way, but it goes the other, I was very pleased by that. And again, just the idea of our Miles character played by Paul Rudd questioning himself and like, how is he doing things better than I can? And I know how to do them. I just love how they played on that. And again, the psyche of the character was just so well done. And I love how they dealt with the moments of Kate and Miles' relationship and their back history. And again, Miles' work relationship, his relationship with his sister, and so on and so forth. They just really did a good job of just displaying all those emotions and bringing them to the screen. And I really enjoyed that. The writing was solid. Again, the directing was solid. And they did a good job of balancing the tone of, again, it has some comedic moments, but they did a good job bringing some dark elements and some more dramatic moments and balancing all that within its 8 episodes. They did a really good job. But I can't leave off the positives without mentioning the great performance by both Paul Rudds. We get our Miles Paul Rudd that we were introduced to at the beginning of the season, who's just at a point in his life where he's not happy with work, not happy with his relationship, not happy with a lot of things in his life, and that drives him to do this experimental thing with this clone. And I love how Paul Rudd plays that character throughout the real Miles, throughout the series. We see him having happy moments, going back to dark moments, feeling bad about certain things, and in his relationship and how it all plays out. I thought he did a great job as the real Miles, and then transition to the clone Miles, just even a better performance by the same person. This particular clone was happy, optimistic, loving life, taking everything that's given to him and taking advantage of the position that he's in. So I really love those two dynamics, those flips of the coin that we get to see the performance by Paul Rudd. And again, it's the dramatic moments that really stood out. I've seen Paul Rudd in dramas, but we don't see him in dramas as much because we obviously know him for his comedic moments. But when he goes to those darker moments, he does such a great job. Transitioning a little bit into the negatives here while I kind of look at my notes. There was a particular storyline. Again, I love Paul Rudd's performance when he's kind of going into this. You see this darker moment that he's in his life, but they really don't shine a light on what led him to this particular point. We do get a little bit of backstory. We see Kate's backstory and their position in their marriage, but it wasn't. I really want to dive deeper into what led to this particular point in his life. And they really don't answer that as much as I wanted to. There are some supporting characters that did a really good job in their role, but I want a little bit more meat for those characters, and particularly her sister and the dynamic of what the sister knows, things of that nature. I thought that they were going to explore that a little bit more than what they did. From the trailer, again, we're reacting to the trailer on our channel here. I was looking for a little bit more darkness in the story, and I thought it was going to go a little bit more on the horror side, which it does at points, but not as deep as and dark as I wanted to. That's just a minor thing. But my biggest thing was, and this is really depends on if they do a season 2, the ending, the way that they leave the ending. If they leave it and they open up this chapter to season 2, it's going to be a great ending in my opinion. But if they leave it as a one-off, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't feel as satisfied as I want to. They also introduced this particular group to the back half of the season that I want a little bit more from them. But again, that ending, if they do a season 2 and they answer some of these threads that weren't, these questions that weren't answered, it's a great ending. But if they don't, I don't know how I personally feel about how they ended the show. But it was interesting how they ended it. But I'd love to see that particular storyline kind of play out and also answer the particular question that they posed at the end. So finishing up this review, as I had mentioned, there is a cool cameo the first episode. I won't reveal who it is, but it's very funny when you think about the cameo and what it kind of goes into and all that stuff. But overall, it's a well-written show, has great performances. They do a good job at pacing the show. Again, it starts off a little like you kind of get an idea of the tone and everything, but then once you get to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you start to really kind of fill in the blanks from those first couple episodes. And this is one of the easiest binges I've ever had in a very long time, a very enjoyable binge. But the episodes range between 25 and 35 minutes, and it is so fast and very enjoyable. Again, I highly recommend you all checking this out this weekend if you got the chance to. I'm going to give Living With Yourself a 4 out of 5. Again, I recommend it. Paul Rudd does a great job. Ashley B does a good job. Really good storytelling, really good directing, really easy binge. Check it out on Netflix, and when you do, comment below on what you thought of the show, if you liked it, and if you would like to see season 2, let me know in the comments. Like and share this video. As I said up top, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our content. We got some stuff on our channel right now that you can check out. The Laundromat, we did a review for that the other day. Check that out. We did a review for Wounds, which is on Netflix, a new horror film. And then we have another review coming out pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that review. Follow us on Instagram at Movie Files and on Twitter at Movie Files Live. Thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you on the next one.